Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Joey again. You're watching VegasDtech, and today we're just doing a neighborhood walk and talk, or in this case, a ride and talk. And I wanted to talk to you guys today and give you my story about why I decided to stop being an automotive technician after 5 or 7 years being in the business. Now, as a disclaimer, one thing I want to say is that I don't say this, that all shops are this way and that the industry as a total is this way. I'm just telling you these are my experiences as a certified technician working for the industry, and why after 7 years I decided that it wasn't for me anymore and I wanted to get out. So when I got out of high school, I wanted to do something, and I liked working with cars. And at the time, fuel injection was just starting to come on board, and we were moving from carburetors to fuel injection. And I decided, you know what, I wanted to go to tech school and learn about fuel injection and diagnostics. So I went in and I got my degree, or actually I just got my certifications through ASC for, I took all the American cars, Chryslers, Ford, and General Motors. And then I also got certified in laser wheel alignment, okay? And with that, I felt that I should have enough to at least get out and start, somewhere, and start my journey with automotive, which I thought that I would enjoy. So the first place that I went to get a job was with Pep Boys. That's right. Manny, Mo, and Jack, right? Now, when I went in and I interviewed for the job, they asked me if I had any experience. And at 20 years old, 19 or 20, I didn't have much experience. I only had my certifications. And they took a look at that. They were like, okay, well, we'll get you started, but you're going to be doing tire busting, battery changes, and oil change, right? Because those were the jobs that the ASC certified master mechanics, they didn't want to do those jobs. They didn't pay enough for them, and they kind of had a pride situation to where they were like, they just didn't want to do those jobs. So those work orders just sat up on the rack there, and they never got done. And it was always the new guys that started doing that, and that was me. So I did that for a while, and then one day I remember being on a break, and I took a look and I noticed that they had a laser alignment rack. And then I went over to the work order thing there to take a look at the work orders that were available, and I seen a work order there for a laser alignment that needed to get done. And it had been there for a couple of hours, so I grabbed it, went to my advisor and told him, like, hey man, I'm certified in doing this, I could do it for you. And he goes, you can? Like, yeah, I have my certification. He goes, go outside, grab that, there's like I think it was like a Caprice Classic. And he told me to go ahead and go out there and grab that vehicle and go ahead and do it. So I brought it in, and it was pretty straightforward. You bring it onto the rack, you center the steering, you grab the laser. There's like these laser calipers that bolt to the wheel, and then you calibrate it. And what it does is the machine shoots a laser all the way around the car, and it tells you how many degrees the alignment is off. And I went ahead and did that, and it also, it walks you through if it's a 2-wheel alignment or a 4-wheel alignment, and where you need to look for the camber adjustments, caster, and stuff like that. And then once you adjust all of those things, you can recalibrate again and re-hit it with the lasers, and then if everything is good, everything will line up true, and it'll go from red arrows to green arrows, and you're done. And after I did that, it took me about 30 minutes or something like that. I brought it back around to my service advisor and turned it in and told him it's done. And he looked at me and he was amazed. He was like, you're kidding me. He goes, nobody here wants to do that, man. I have to go and find somebody to go do this, one of the guys down at the end, because they just don't want to touch such a thing, because they just don't have time, or they're, like I said, it doesn't pay enough for them to do a 20-30 minute alignment. So it was really funny. So my manager at the time, his name was Frank, he came around and he told me, he goes, "Hey Joey, you know what? I like the way that you take initiative at your job. We want to offer you an opportunity. We have an opportunity up front at the desk for you to take a position as a service advisor if you would like to do that." And I was like, "An advisor?" He goes, "Yeah, it'll get you out of the sweaty hot shop, and you won't be, you know, busting tires no more. You'll be actually, you know, working on computers, writing up service orders." It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, because I wanted to work with computers and scanners and do diagnostics, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers, right? He goes, "But I need an answer from you, and I need that answer by tomorrow morning. You're going to be out of that gray uniform and into a white uniform." So what could I do, man? I just went home and thought about it. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do it, right? And then here's where I think the downfall of me being a service tech started, is that I learned very quickly, man, that writing up service orders, I always wanted to like be friendly with customers and, you know, be honest and give them an honest assessment by actually diagnosing, because that's what I went to school for. I went to school to diagnose, you know, problems with your car and to find that one item that's wrong with your car and then get it fixed and get you on the road. And I quickly found out that this is not how it, you know, this is not the way it operates, you know, in the automotive industry. Here I am writing up an estimate. And, you know, normally when I write up an estimate, I would say that estimates, if it's let's say 30 to 50% more than what I quoted you, it could happen, right? Because you have to take into consideration things that came along the way that you didn't see, or things that needed to be replaced in order to get to that part. So, you know, I let them know, you know, there could be some variations in this estimate between 30 to 50%. But the customers were okay with that, you know, and I established friendships. But quickly I was getting these invoices back. They're all greasy. Once a technician got it and they brought it back over to me, and I'm looking at all this stuff, does this really need to be done, all of this stuff? And it was always by mileage. They would want it done, or they would just tell me they don't want to do the job unless all this other stuff got done too. And I was questioning whether the technicians were really doing their job of diagnosing the problem, or if they just use a shotgun approach of condemning everything around the problem, and in the course of getting, you know, the job fixed, they would, you know, after replacing so many parts, they would finally find the one part that, you know, needed to be replaced. But they didn't get to the one problem. They just fixed a whole bunch of problems, right? And I really didn't like that, but it is what it is, right? I had to do what I had to do. So that's how it went for a while. And then I remember one day I was on a lunch, right? So take it here, guys. I'm on a lunch, I'm on my own break, and I see this lady pull up. You know, I think at the time she pulled up, it was her and her child. I think she had like a Honda Prelude, and the lady was like all in tears, just completely broke down and shot out, babies crying in the back seat. And I walked over to her and I asked her, "Ma'am, do you need any help?" And she was just like saying, "I don't know, my life is just terrible. Now my car, it's just like dying on me all the time." And I was just like, you know, I'm on my break. So I went ahead and said, "Okay, well, just let me look at it." She opens up her hood. I can hear like a hissing noise, right? And it was like a vacuum leak. So I'm looking around, I walk back, I grab a spray bottle, I spray around her engine compartment. And whenever there's a vacuum leak, if water hits that vacuum hose, the water will go into the hose. It'll temporarily plug it. The engine will gain its power and stabilize it once again, and then everything will appear to be good. So I was able to find a little rip in one of her vacuum hoses. I put a plastic barb in there and fixed it and put it all together for her. And she was happy as ever. And, you know, I think like the part was like $3 or something like that. Well, needless to say, my service manager seen that go down and he was not pleased, okay? He asked me, he called me in his office and he asked me what that was all about, what I did. And I told him, you know, I helped her out. And he goes, "We're not in the business to help people out like that." He goes, dude, she needs to bring her car in. We need to write up a service order for her. She needs to pay for at least a minimum 1 hour of diagnostic time. And, you know, it needs to go to a certified tech. And the guy said, you're not a technician, you are a service advisor, and this is the protocol of this shop. And I didn't like being belittled like that. I didn't go to school to learn this type of stuff, and it took me a good, 10 minutes to figure it out, and I helped a person. And I thought, I gave her the company card, and I really thought that by helping this person out, when you help out a customer like that, they'll be more inclined to refer, their friends and family to you because of honesty, you being honest, right? And no, I didn't win no favoritism from the shop doing that. As a matter of fact, like I said, my manager got really pissed off, didn't want that to happen. So on and on this went down. And then also in the course of me being a service advisor, we had situations where, the guys that are working for us, they were breaking parts on people's cars, right? So here's another situation where a Toyota truck was on the lift for some brakes. I quoted the customer 3 hours to get, all of his brake stuff done. I can't remember, it was many years, but it was only a couple of hours. I think it was 3 hours turnaround. And we would have his front and rear brakes on the Toyota truck done. And what ended up happening was the tech was having a hell of a time getting the rear drums off of the car. They were beating on it, torching it, pry barring it, just doing everything they can trying to pull these drums off. And they couldn't figure out on the lift why this drum wouldn't come off. Well, later on we find out as they're breaking all these parts trying to get this drum off, what it was is these guys had the e-brake on. And so the drum is fully extended in the on position, locking the drum on. And so they're sitting here prying, breaking all kinds of stuff. And it was because they made a mistake of not checking the e-brake. Yeah. And so then I had to call back the owner and let him know that, due to complications that were unforeseen, that I would need to keep the car. It was on the weekend, and unfortunately the parts that we had broken had to come up from Phoenix, and that was gonna take like 2 days to come up. Man, this guy was so upset, man. He called me every name in the book, man, and I did nothing wrong, you know what I mean? And I was like, Jesus, so here we go again. That was like one of the times. The second time it happened was one of our service techs, an ASC service tech, he's doing a timing belt on an Acura. And he gets everything done. He's supposed to be wrapped up and ready to go within 2 hours. And then what he ended up doing was he forgot a tool in the camshaft. He had a ratchet on the camshaft. He goes in to fire up the engine, and the ratchet spins and it just breaks everything in that camshaft timing cover. And now that is something, again, we do not carry timing camshaft covers. That is something that we have to get from the dealership. And this is something that I, told the owner that we would have ready in a matter of hours, and then turn around and we end up destroying it 2 hours before it's time to get picked up. The car is destroyed again, okay? And who's the bad guy? They don't have to talk to the tech. They talk to me, the service advisor, and I'm getting all, the beat downs because of it. And again, you know what I mean? So I can give you hundreds and hundreds of examples as to what it was, but I'll tell you the one that really broke the camel's back, when I was questioning some of the work that these guys were doing. And I came back there and I was asking them, do they really need all these services? Because, like I said, you can have an estimate, and I always told them, there's going to be a variance in this estimate of like 30 to say 50%. You got to be able to be flexible. You need to be flexible on this estimate. If you could give it 30 to 50% either way, if I don't need to get it replaced, I won't. But if it needs to, we'll call you up and let you know. But as long as you know in advance what could possibly happen, you're anticipating it. When I would get these estimates back, there'd be nice, clean estimates when the techs would get them. And then after they come back to me, they're full of oil and grease and all these writings and stuff. And then it came back, once I recomputated what it is that they wanted me to do, I'm talking about the estimate did not go up 30 to 50%. The estimate would climb to like 100 to 200% more. So if I quoted you something like an $800 job, I was getting an estimate back for double that, sometimes almost triple that. And when I would go back there to the service bays, you know, and ask these technicians to explain to me why they needed this done, because a lot of these shops treat customers as though they're bringing in fleet vehicles, you know, and they have like an accounts payable department where they just, you know, forward the bill to them and somehow it's absorbed to their accounts payable and it gets paid like they're a business, and they're not. You know, some people can swallow that, but the general public, my manager once again called me in and he talked to me about it, and you know, the one thing that he said to me, and I think this is what finally made me decide and rethink if I wanted to stay doing automotive technician, was that he said, it is not your job to question the work ethic of the tech. He goes, the techs need to flag hours. My job is to write service orders and get these people to buy them. And he told me, he goes, yeah, man, if the techs don't make money, then the shop doesn't get money. And if the shop doesn't get money, then none of us have a job. So my job is not to think. My job is not to second guess. My job is not to do anything other than write service orders and sell the job. And you know what, after a while, I hated it. I would come and I would get stomach aches all the time. And I didn't enjoy doing what I do. And yeah, man, so, you know, just real quick, like I said, my experience, you know, being an automotive, you know, in automotive, you know, as a technician and as a service advisor, I didn't like it. And after 5 or 7 years of doing it, after 5 or 7 years of being in that field doing it like that, I just felt like I needed a change. I needed to break away because my soul was dying every time I came to work. So anyways, guys, I want to say thank you very much for coming out with me today on my first walk and talk vlog of 2025 on my story of why I gave up being an automotive technician. A lot of people are asking me about that because, you know, they've been questioning, why do I have all this, you know, mechanic shirts and stuff, and they're just left over from when I did that type of jobs, which I don't do anymore. Now I just fix my parents' cars, my car, my own, you know, my own motor pool, right? And yeah, so if you guys like format like this, please consider doing me a kindness, like the video if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe, as that would help me to continue putting out more material like this and more content, as I promised that I would do. And guys, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and log out for now. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, and I will catch you guys on my very next upload, okay? This is Joey. You're watching VegasDtech. You guys take care of yourself. Goodbye.